Let's go. My favourite part.
Alright,
Yeah?
let's get it then.
Nice one. Right.
Right back at it.
So, my name is Bolu Olawe, and I'm going to be doing a little docu-series. And the main reason I want to do this docu-series is to, first of all, document the journey. I want people to understand what's going into this journey and where I really want to go and how I'm going to get there. And secondly, I want it to inspire the people who decide to watch. Because one thing I genuinely believe is that when you put your mind to anything, you can do whatever you want to. And that's my genuine belief, and for me, that's what I'm going for. I'm going to achieve everything that I want to, and I want to show people that if I can do it, then other people can also do it. So I want people to understand what it's going to take. I want people to understand what my journey is going to look like. I want it there, I want it there, I want it documented, hence why we are doing this. So, where did the story start? Where did this all start? Where did it all begin? And why am I kind of driven to achieve the things I want to achieve, and where am I heading? This whole story started during lockdown, during COVID 2020, 2021. And it started when I was at university. I was at university at Aston in Birmingham, and I lived there. I completed my first year. And during the whole lockdown period, when everyone was inside, it gave me a lot of time to think. I really started thinking, right, what do I actually want in life? Where do I want to be? Where do I want to go? Do I really feel fulfilled with the path I'm on right now? The answer to those questions was no. I wasn't really in a position I wanted to be, and I wasn't in a position where I saw myself being happy on the path I was currently at. I was at university and I was studying electrical engineering. If I look back on it, the reason I even wanted to study electrical engineering was, I don't even know why, to be honest. Back then I'm 18 when I'm picking what I want to do for university, and before that I decided like the A levels as well. And like many other people, it's like, I'm just gonna go into university, I want to go down the traditional academic route because that's what most people do and that's what the norm is. But if I really look back now, in hindsight, it's like I was just a kid that didn't really know what they wanted from life. And obviously at that age, it's completely fine. But the reason I picked certain subjects is because I looked at other people who were successful and I tried to emulate them. I tried to copy them. One person that I really looked up to and had as a kind of a role model and someone that inspired me when I was reading about his stories and watching certain films that people created about him was Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs created Apple, this big, massive company, and I wanted to follow in the footsteps of someone who had achieved something great. Now that I look back at it, just because someone was great in what they done doesn't mean you have to try and copy them in order to be great. Following your own path and just looking at and understanding what you're good at and really diving deeper into that instead of trying to dive into something other people are good at is going to be much more beneficial for you in the long term. You have to be passionate about what you want to do. You have to have a vision, you have to have a plan, you have to have the discipline to stick to that plan. And to be completely honest, when I was at uni, I didn't have that passion for it. I didn't have the discipline to stick to it, and it wasn't in line with my long-term goals and my long-term visions for myself and for my life. So here, this is where we used to kick ball. Literally just up here now. We'd come down here, play some football. Every now and again, just take a look outside the kitchen window, see if it was free, see if it was empty. And then we'll come down, shout the rest of the guys, we'll all come down, have a good time. And then they had like the football union, so the football union, they'd have like training sessions in the evening. Yeah, this is quite nostalgic, It's crazy, like time is a really funny thing, but everything is worked out exactly how it's supposed to. And all I can say is that I'm just truly grateful, truly grateful. This was 3.5, 4 years ago, and yeah, literally used to live up there, right there. James Watt, B2. Yeah. Honestly, you can only say thank you to God, innit? For me, I have to be proactive. I have to be proactive in my existence. If there's something I don't like, that means there's something that must be changed. And that's when I started to think about alternative options, alternative routes. What can I do to change my situation? What can I do to live a better life and a more fulfilled and happy life? What can I do to make myself happy. No one else is gonna do it for me. I realized it at that age. No one's gonna do it for me. No one's gonna help me unless I helped myself. Before I started university, there was an opportunity called a degree apprenticeship. And a degree apprenticeship essentially means you study at university and you work at the same time. When I was 18, I didn't really understand the ins and outs of it, because when I was applying for universities, we had to start thinking about things such as accommodation and student loans and all the things that we're going to need in order to go through university. However, nobody actually told you what the ins and outs were for a degree apprenticeship and where you'd have to stay and how the balance would work. Nobody told you this. So it was an opportunity back then when I was 18, but nothing that I really dived deep into because I didn't know enough about it. Obviously now I'm in a position where I want to make a change, where I want something to be different. So that's why I decided I want to do some more research. Let's actually work this thing out. How does it actually work? What is the process? And after doing research, it's more or less a job. There's no student accommodation provided. So it kind of limited me to certain locations, certain areas and certain things that I wanted to do. However, it really made me also focus on what specific type of degree apprenticeship I wanted. Then started looking deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And I went on the government website and I started scrolling through. My criteria was IT, because I knew of the job security working in IT would have. Every company requires IT. Every company is gonna require technology, computers. So it means that if I'd done this opportunity, I could be in it for a very long time. Now, I wanted to be back in London. At this point, I'd moved around quite a bit. Originally lived in London, in East London. Then I moved to Northampton. Then I moved to Birmingham. And now I decided I want to be back in the best city in the UK. And if anyone tells you that London is not the best city in the UK, they don't know what they're talking about. London is where it's at. London is the best city for me, and to me, it's the only place in the UK that really feels like home. So I knew I needed to look for an IT role or technology-based role, and I wanted to be back in London, and that significantly reduced my criteria. It made it actually quite easy to understand what I was looking for. So anyone out there who's thinking about doing a degree apprenticeship, I would say make it as specific as possible. What do you want to do and where do you want to stay? So that was all sorted. Went onto the government website and I started to look at different opportunities with my criteria, and then one just popped out to me. I ended up applying for it. Now, at this point as well, I've seen my friends at university going through many applications for their placement year, and I saw how many applications they were doing. And I saw the effort and the time and the interviews and the rejections. So for me, when I started applying for the degree apprenticeship, I knew that it would be a long process, and my expectation was it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult. But you know what? Sometimes things just work out. That's one of my sayings actually, that it always works out. And this apprenticeship I actually applied for ended up being one of the few that I did apply for, and it was an extremely smooth process. I got the email back saying that they were going to offer me an opportunity to come down for an assessment center. And again, I'd seen my friends do things such as this, assessment centers, interview prep. And I remember speaking to a couple of my friends about this opportunity. But this is probably the hardest part. And here we have the library. Now, obviously, because I was the best student in the world, I was in that library every single day, kind of. You know, I actually was there quite often. My guy CJ, CJ lived in the library. CJ was always in the library. I remember we'd go for sessions in the library, and then I remember going to the library with a few people in my course as well. Yeah, a lot of good memories in that library. I say good memories. A lot of productive work. It's all coming back to me. Yeah, this was it. This is where we came almost every single day, or every single weekday, for the lectures, for seminars, for our tutorials. This is where the magic happened, studying electrical engineering. I look back on it now, and honestly, as much as I did enjoy my time here, as much as there was great times here, I made the right decision. I absolutely made the correct decision. And in hindsight, I'd make that decision again. Everything always works out exactly how it's supposed to. Always. Telling your parents that I want to drop out of university and I want to take on this opportunity that, in my family at least, no one knew what it was. And telling my parents that I want to drop out, it was hard, it was tough. Looking back at it again, in hindsight, I'm happy that I did. I'm happy that I did because I'm happy with where I am now. My parents are happy with where I am now. So ultimately, the point is, regardless of how it might feel in the time, you need to stick to your vision. And you ultimately have to have the positivity and the mindset to understand that it might look bad now, and not many people may agree with certain decisions, but in the future, I know it's gonna make everyone happy. And having that belief in that moment is difficult because it's all based off blind faith, because you don't really know that. You don't really know that because it's not been done. It's not the normal, it's unmarked and uncharted territory. But nonetheless, I've done what needed to be done. I told my parents and I ended up going to the assessment center, and this is where the game changed. Like I said, I am from London, however, there's not many times that I actually spent a lot of times or days in central London. Central London is very different to the outskirts of London. Almost two completely different places. I remember coming in, searching how long it would take for me to get to the office for the assessment center, planning out my journey, and then I set off and I really took in that commute because in my head, I understood that it could be a commute that could be taken many, many times for a very long time. I remember coming out of Aldgate Station and I see the buildings, I see the massive skyscrapers, I see the city, I see how busy it is, I see how lively it is. I come out, I'm walking, I said, yeah, this is a little bit of me. I like this, I like the busyness. As I'm turning the corner, more and more skyscrapers are just popping out of nowhere, and I'm really seeing what London is, where the money is at really. I'm seeing the skyscrapers, I'm imagining myself working here in the city. I'm thinking, wow, how have I never seen this before? This is amazing. And then I step into the foyer and I see this building, I see this reception, and I say, wow. I go to the receptionist, I say why I'm here, somebody comes down, comes to get me. I head upstairs, and then there's a floor, essentially the executive floor. Once I saw it, I told myself, I need to get this job. I really started to imagine myself working here and taking on this degree apprenticeship opportunity. I remember thinking, in that moment, I need to work here. So the assessment center was a massive success. I remember almost every moment. I remember meeting everyone. I remember all the various interviews I had to do. I remember the group exercise we had to do. And again, it was completely different to anything I was used to, and it was completely different to any other job, any other role I had to do, to apply for. Before this, I was working in the warehouse. My first ever job was at a primary school, at an after-school club. I've worked at bars, I've worked at McDonald's. I've done various different things. So applying for a job that was in a corporate world, it really showed me that, you know, working is completely different to what I expected it to be, and it was a completely different outlook, and I never knew any of this existed.